Well, let me tell you, coming from a colorful family, I brought my own little parade of chairs into my marriage. And it's interesting because I found that more often than not, we just kept dealing with the symptoms and never to the root of the problem.
Yeah. But you know, people just deal with the symptoms. That root just continues to press itself up over and over again because it doesn't solve things. So let's look at some of the common symptoms that people end up doing in a marriage. What are the things we see, but that's not the root? What are the symptoms?
Well, I think what's tough is that you walk into the marriage and you think you have no problems because you shove those things down.
Yes.
Then all of a sudden this insecurity rises up, or this inability to communicate, or like us, I became the ice queen whenever I got angry.
Ooh, Frost.
She was the ice queen.
And of course, then he very quickly became the ice king. So here we were, these two therapists married to each other, icing each other out when we got angry.
Cold Wars.
Oh, absolutely.
It's beautiful, but no issues.
Not at all, no.
The sad thing about that is that's after a lot of therapy too, because it didn't start out that way.
But you know, some people get angry though, right?
Yeah.
Some people...
I was an angry person. I was probably, I would say, a rageaholic at some point. Wow.
Really?
Anger was my emotion of choice, as it is for many men, because it feels more empowering. It doesn't feel so vulnerable. So I would very quickly go to anger if something symptomatically triggered me.
And did your anger cause you to explode or like just get angry and walk out?
No, I would explode.
And then walk out.
And then walk out. Yeah.
And then the Cold War would start.
So then I had the anger and the hurt from and the pain from that, and then the leaving, so I had the abandonment. So it was a tough time in our early honeymoon haven.
And it was only in the early years that this occurs?
After a while, we needed more therapy, and we really worked very hard on our marriage.
Well, we have a saying that we say that the symptoms themselves are incidental. It can be the simplest thing that can trigger you. So the focus is really not on, factoring out symptoms. The focus is on going deeper and understanding what it is that's being triggered.
Yeah, what's causing the problem, right?
Right,
I mean, and what people got a sense here is, well, you can say, well, he's an angry man, go get that fixed. But it's not about the anger. There's something that's triggering that anger, something that's forcing you to be that way, right?
Okay, but I'm taking advantage because we've got 3 doctors here. So we all know the symptoms and we deal with the symptoms, and you know what? We're in a cycle with the symptoms. How do we figure out what the root is?
Going back and looking where we don't want to look. And usually it's the stuff in childhood or in adulthood. Previous marriages can be wounding, but it's the stuff that we have shoved down deep, and we tend to compensate for it. We call it an adaptation.
Yes.
I adapted to mine by being the perfect person, made good grades, did everything perfectly. And so that meant that if he criticized me in any way, honey, could you put more salt in the beans? I can't believe you would say such a thing.
You failed.
Oh, terribly. And so what we had to do is say, why are we responding the way we're doing? Why are we acting the way we're acting? And then go look at the root.
Okay, but okay. That sounds very simple, but what about the person who says there's nothing wrong with how I'm responding? I mean, this is me, accept me,
or even worse, Christy, even worse, it's not me, it's him, which I had to admit, I said that.
Well, he's complaining all the time, right? Quit complaining. Put your own salt in.
He's so angry.
Yeah.
In fact, the first therapist we went to, who happened to be my supervisor, because I was studying to be a therapist.
Good.
I told him all about how horrible my husband was, and that was the problem. And he said, and you don't play any part at all. And so the question we ask a lot is,
I like your t-shirt.
What is it like living with me?
Oh.
And I want to tell you, when he asked me that question, I was like,
Okay, but how do you get a real picture of what it's like living with me? Because I'm sorry, but I'm going to tell you all the fabulous reasons why you want to live with me.
Usually I say interview someone you've lived with in your lifetime, and you'll get a nice picture. I interviewed my siblings and got wonderful things. In fact, I couldn't wait to tell him all the wonderful things. But I got a few little morsels that he had been telling me for years, and hearing it from someone else was quite sobering.
Wow.
And you know what? That's what we have to do, isn't it? We have to ask someone else to speak in her life, because sometimes they say our spouse, but they're maybe not objective, but someone, maybe a counselor, maybe a friend, how am I coming across? Or am I wrong when she's talking this way to me? And you get another perspective, right?
Well, we've repressed those issues for a reason, Dave, because most of the time, those issues center around pain. And we don't want to feel pain, so we just want to shove it all down, not think about it, think it was in the past.
Oh, and we're in a culture that medicates and numbs pain. Nobody wants to deal with pain.
Very definitely. If you've got
it's funny when we have clients that come into our office because they typically have an unconscious agenda. They're not really aware of it. But what they're very subtly doing is wanting to collude with us to fix the other person.
Oh, of course.
And if we can just fix this person, then everything will be okay.
If I can win the therapist over, then he'll fix my wife.
Right.
Exactly.
So we generally stop them in the first session with that little statement. We have them write a little essay. What is it like living with me?
Beautiful.
Wow, I like that.
I love it. Now listen, you're listening and you're saying, oh my goodness, they're hitting some of my symptoms. All right, but realize that your spouse's pain can be your current pain. All right? Now I want you to go to our website and tell us your story about how your spouse's pain in the past, what they went through is affecting you today. Tell us your story because we want to be of help to you. Stay with us.